being an entrepreneur sounds cool, but the reality of building a business is very, very difficult. Every level that you hit, there's a lot of things that suck that you just won't want to do. What you're capable of is on the other side. I don't feel like it.
And if you're committed to what it is that you're trying to do, nothing is going to stop you from getting there.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Business Owners with myself, Trevor Cowley. Today we have an incredible guest, an amazing man, awesome entrepreneur, a good friend of mine, Kelly Meredith. You guys are going to get a lot of value out of today's episode. So without further ado, enjoy.
I truly don't know your full story, dude. I really don't, and so that's piqued my curiosity. Obviously, I want to know the transition from, where you started to, business has so many different phases. How many businesses have you tried over the last few decades?
So I tell you, we'll just go back to the beginning. So, probably what you don't know is early in my career, I was a football coach. So when I got out of college, I got into coaching and coached at, several different levels. So I coached at the high school level, coached at small college level, coached Arena League football. And so really everything that I've done from a business standpoint is built around athletics and built around the team aspect. So there's a lot of things that I learned being a coach, being a part of a team, that I think translate or, into the business world. A lot of people.
You have a team of employees. It's how do you motivate them to get the end result that also benefits them? Most people think business owners only want to motivate people just so that they can line their pockets. But obviously the better the business does, the better opportunities people have within inside of the business. It eventually gets to the point where you're just like, I'm actually pretty good financially. I want to continue to grow and expand based upon the opportunities that we can now provide to you guys as members of the organization. That's where my mindset's at right now. It's like, if everybody in the organization is winning by default, I would just be winning too. So let's put the energy and focus on building a solid team and create opportunities for them to level up. And so football coach, huh?
So I think
I should have guessed. You fit a football coach to a T, just a good, strong man with character and integrity around a young group of individuals that are hungry to get better. I see you fitting that mold. Where was the transition out of football?
So the transition out of football was into the private sector.
What does that mean, bro?
Private
sector. I don't. When people say that, I don't even. I've been in business for a long time.
So a privately owned business that was a family owned business. So my grandfather actually started a business in 1950 that originally started as a logistics warehouse company, and so that's where. So what happened is I was in a situation from a coaching standpoint where I was looking to kind of better myself or looking for other opportunities. And I thought
that because like football stuff, it didn't pay well and
it wasn't really pay. I tell you what, some of it has to do with aligning with the right people. And so when you talk about building your team, and so as at that point, I was not a head coach, so I really didn't have a say-so in who I was surrounded with. I was actually a defensive coordinator of a really, really good high school in Southern Georgia. Had a great staff on my defensive staff, but there were some things that I did not align with. I'll say this.
Like character issues?
Issues, and I think my integrity was being jeopardized, being questioned. So things that were happening with our athletes that I felt like were not the right things, and we were not teaching the values that I felt that needed to be taught to young men, and being taught to young men. So to me, if we can't mold these young men into something that they could be leaders in the world or go out there and be other people besides just athletes, because very few of them are going to have the opportunity to play college football, or to go pro. And so we did have some that did have that opportunity. But there again, if character was not the number one thing that we were not teaching and focusing on, then it was like, what am I doing? And so I felt like, although I was surrounded by great athletes, I was at a school that was going to win a lot of football games. I felt like that really wasn't my calling. My calling is to be able to mold young men, or young boys to become men, I should say. And so I had interviewed for several jobs and felt like, for some reason, I just felt like I needed to go by and see my uncle in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and just ask him if there was somewhere that I was, if I was going to take a break from coaching, was there something in the family business that I could go work in the family business? Had no idea really what logistics, warehousing was. Everything that I did was football. And within the family business, there was a forklift. They had forklift dealerships. So they owned 3 forklift dealerships in the Southeast, and they owned 3 forklift dealerships in the Northeast. And one of the interesting things is my uncle realized that I think in the mid-'80s, that their company from Logistics Warehouse was buying so many forklifts to support their warehouses. Why didn't they just become a forklift dealership? So why didn't they just have their own dealership and then sell forklifts to their own company?
Yeah.
So they started the forklift dealership. So he's like, well, Kelly, he said, I have a great opportunity for you in Huntsville, Alabama. Go sell forklifts. I was like, I really don't know what a forklift is.
Yeah.
But
Never used one.
Yeah. Let me go meet with the guy he was the general manager of the forklift dealership. Let me just go meet with him and see what happens. And I remember going to meet with him, and I just gelled with him as a person. Like he had it. Like he was just, you can talk about the team atmosphere. Like he had a great team. He had a great, he was a motivator. He was somebody that just had it, and I really felt, just connected to him and felt like, you know what, I don't mind being around him because he can help mold me into something a little bit different than what I was being molded into. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Let me bring my family up to Huntsville, Alabama. Let's go see what we think about it. And so we ended up making the change and the transition to go work in the forklift dealership in Huntsville, Alabama. So that's where really I started with our family business. At the time, there was a lot of pride for me because it was a family business. It was something my grandfather started in 1950. And so here we were in 2010, maybe.
Is that when did you transition from coaching?
That was in like 2009, 2010, I believe. Oh, wow. Yeah. So then
you've got rich beyond your wildest dreams within 15 years. It's possible, you guys. It's possible.
The word rich is not, I tell you what, I have been extremely blessed and have been given a lot of opportunities and been extremely blessed.
I got to give you shit.
I know.
I always give you shit.
But it's one of those things that when I was within the family business, I remember looking at how things were run, and here I am, outsider, not really knowing what was going on, and I felt like there was always a little bit of things that we could tweak or change. Yeah. And there again, being a family member, everybody knowing that I was a family member, like who's this kid and what are they going to give? And I'll say this, that I had to work my butt off to be able to get to the positions that I got to. And within probably about 2 to 3 years, I was managing all the Southeast branches. So that was in Chattanooga, Dalton, Georgia, and Madison, Alabama, which was right outside of Huntsville. So I was managing all those. Actually, so
those were the dealerships.
Those were dealerships. Yeah. So it was like 2008, I'll say, when I started, because that was actually when the economy crashed in 2008. Yep. And at that time, we were looking for other opportunities that we could help our logistics customers from the forklift dealership. And I remember looking at the numbers from one of our big customers on the logistics side and seeing what they were spending on forklifts outside of our territory. So that, whether it was in Dallas, Texas, or whether it was in California or up in Michigan, wherever it may be.
Cars are the same way. Some people travel a couple states. I knew a guy that would go buy cars in Canada.
Yeah.
And he would bring them down to the United States because he could get a car for $3,500 in Canada, come down here and sell it for twice as much.
Yeah. You're supposed to have, so in the forklift dealership, they have like what's called an ITA. So you're really supposed to be geographically bound by certain areas based on zip codes.
Yeah.
So when I met with this customer, we were talking about, me and another guy were talking about their financial numbers and talking about how much they were spending. We're like, you guys are spending way too much money,
on
service, on service, on purchasing them or whatever you have. And you guys should have a whole lot of power. You're operating over 900 forklifts in your distribution centers. Why aren't you exercising more power from a cost standpoint, from a service standpoint? They're like, well, we really don't know how to do it. Like we don't really know what to do. And so at that time is when kind of came up with the idea of like a fleet management services of like, I can manage all your forklift fleet nationwide, and we'll have the same employees all by the all the employees will be through us. We'll manage all your forklift fleet. We can sell you all your forklift fleets. We can service all your forklift fleets and provide them parts everywhere in all your locations. And so basically they came up and they said, well, how much money do you think you could save us? And I remember having the conversation with them. I said, we feel like we could save you roughly $20 million in 5 years. There again, had never done this, had no idea if we could do it or whatever. Said $20 million.
But you knew obviously there were significant
I knew there was a lot of low-hanging fruit.
Yes,
one from a labor cost, one from excess employees.
It's not like you pulled that number out of your ass.
A lot of it was also with, in 2008, there's a lot of forklifts sitting, so they had way too many forklifts in a lot of locations.
Inventory
and so
sitting there.
There's a lot of things that we could do that actually we could pull all this stuff out, come up with a pretty good business model.
So did you strip it down?
So we stripped it down
and brought it down to the bare bones, and then made it way more profitable, and then it was more strategic growth from there.
Perfect. Yes.
Dude, so I see that so many times in business. It's just like, let's get bigger, let's get bigger, let's get bigger, but they're not actually doing it based upon the numbers.
Right.
They just think bigger is better, when in reality, what ends up happening is you put a lot of fat onto your business.
Well, they were very quick to fire employees, but very slow to do anything with their forklifts. And so if you look inside a distribution center or a warehouse, a forklift might cost you anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a month from a lease and from maintenance and from usage. It's just sitting there. So they might have 30 forklifts sitting over there that's costing them up to $60,000 a month. And here they are laying off 15 people. But they're not doing anything to the forklift.
So they're laying off people to cut overhead.
But they're letting all this other stuff sit. So it's kind of like, let's put an umbrella under all of your fleet, and then let's make sure all your fleet's the exact same. It's all spec the same. So if site A is not doing well and site B is doing extremely well, move some forklifts from site A to site B instead of you going out and buying 10 more forklifts.
Yeah.
And so it's really just an education of how do you manage your forklift fleet from a nationwide perspective and get the same service all across the board. So that's really what started what I would call my fleet, our fleet services group. And so at that point, though, I had to break away from the dealership because the OEM that we dealt with was not going to allow me to
go
do it
all
under,
over the place and be over here on the West Coast and the East Coast, and then
and not under their name.
Yeah.
But what I did find out is every OEM out there, if you bring them enough business, the rules change. So if I'm bringing them a customer that had only 20% of their equipment, and I said, hey, they want to buy 100% of your equipment, then they'll be like, oh yeah, we'll change our rules for you. We'll let you just, you can sell to them nationwide. So what was able to happen is we were able to create this model that we could go get with OEMs. We could.
What's OEMs?
So
what does that mean?
The manufacturer of who the manufacturer was. So you have like in the forklift industry, you have like Hyster, Yale, Toyota, Mitsubishi, Clark. So like
so the M mean manufacturer.
Manufacturer, right. Yeah. So they would be the ones that would be the owner of that group. So we found out that, hey, we go find out what's the best forklift that's out there that can run for the best price and the
least amount of service.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we focused on things such as cost per hour. We focused on things such as utilization. So we built utilization charts that if this site was only 60% utilized, that means that they had too much equipment. And we should move equipment from that site to another site. If they were at like 90% utilized, then maybe they needed a couple extra forklifts just in case something happened. So we were able to shift and move equipment around nationwide to be able to build this company. So started with it, one company gave us 4 sites. Within a year, they gave us 16 sites. Shortly after the year, they gave us all their manufacturing sites plus all their distribution sites. And 2 years later, we were in Mexico doing all their Mexico operations. So at that point, I had a full-blown business that I could go out there and market to other companies and say, hey, this is what we can do. It's proven.
So you transitioned out of the family business and started just helping other businesses that are in the forklift industry,
in the fleet,
almost as like a consultant, would you say?
Yeah, it would be fleet management, but we would still handle. So we would. Our goal was to handle everything from cradle to grave. So I wanted to sell you the forklifts. I wanted to service the forklifts, or I wanted to rent you the forklifts. I wanted to service the forklifts. I wanted to be the one that was getting the forklifts off lease so we could then determine what to do with them. We would either have you release them at a cheaper rate, or
because they're used,
right? Or we would take the used equipment, sell that, and then sell them new equipment. So we wanted to handle everything from the front door all the way out to the back door of that. Also within the business model is we realized that if we're in a warehouse, who's doing your lighting? You know, who's hanging your signs? Who's putting the paint on your floor? Who's doing your dock door work? Who's doing this? Who's doing the service?
Cradle to the grave. I'll tell you what.
So one of the things that we would, our tagline was we were a one-stop shop. So instead of you having to go through procurement and you have to have procurement write out 16 different POs, why don't you write me out one PO
and I'll handle 16.
Everything? I'll either sub it out, or I'll do it ourselves. If we could do it better than other people, we'll do it ourselves.
Then the sales pitch is, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to save you money and I'm going to take money off of the top. Did you do a split of savings, or did you just have a fee?
The original, we did a pain share, gain share with our first customer.
What does that mean?
So pain share, gain share, if I said I'm going to save them $20 million, and I saved them only $18 million, I would share that difference of the $2 million that I didn't save them.
So you're eating $1 million and they're eating $1 million.
Yep. And so we would do that. The gain share was if I saved them $24 million, then we were going to split that $2 million
50-50
of the savings. We saved them so much money, they were like, hey, we got to do away with the pain share.
Let's go back to this percentage.
We can't do this pain and gain share anymore. So let's just go back.
They're just getting greedy.
So then really what it became was an open book.
Crazy.
It became an open book from what we would do. Here's our parts cost. Here's our markup. Here's our labor cost. Here's our markup. And so we were very upfront, transparent with exactly we needed to make some money. One of the guys in our organization would always say that, pigs need to be fed, hogs get slaughtered. And so all we wanted to do is be a pig and get fed. And so we felt like if I could build my business and I could cover all your distribution centers, all your manufacturing locations, you know what? Let's just make a little money off of it.
If you make a nickel and dime here and there times millions and millions of parts and transactions.
And by the time you are managing anywhere from 15 to 20,000 forklifts nationwide, it's a pretty good business model.
Yeah. So that's how you got rich.
that's how I made my living.
That's how
I made my living.
Well, I mean, I see you at the gym or whatever. You're like, oh yeah, man, I picked up 20 forklifts or 50 forklifts in Mexico. I'm trying to offload them or whatever. Well, I'm like, what the hell do you do? Is this like a hobby on the side? And I didn't know that was the game. That's really where you cut your teeth in terms of business and growth and success. Really was forklifts. And what a weird business.
Very strange, because I was telling the guy the other day. I said, when I drive around the street, I see forklifts on the side of the street.
No other human on the planet sees it unless you drive a forklift. You're like, oh, that's a nice one, or that one's a piece of crap, or whatever.
Idea.
Yeah.
And so when you go by some of these warehouses, like here in St. George, if you go out by the Family Dollar warehouse or the Walmart, warehouse,
the distribution centers out there,
they might have anywhere from 60 to 120 pieces of equipment in there. If you go to a manufacturing locations, we had a lot of manufacturing locations in the Midwest that would have anywhere from 600 to 800 pieces of equipment inside of a manufacturing location.
Wow.
So we might have one technician at one location. We might have 16 technicians at another location, working 3 shifts, 24 hours a day to cover everything. Or nutty. We might have a little small distribution center with 20 forklifts with one technician.
Did you have partners involved? Like, it was a family business, this thing. It obviously opened up the opportunity for something much bigger, right? Your vision was bigger than just, a couple locations or whatever it may be. Did some of these family members align with that vision? And come with you?
They did. Yeah. So the family. So under the umbrella. Under the family umbrella. So they were set up different LLCs with under the family umbrella.
But it was all funneling back to the same. You guys, the family.
So then what led me through that transition? Business was going really good. How
long did it take for you? Like you said, it was 08, 09, right? Like, did you play around in some of these locations that you guys had for 2 or 3 years before you started seeing these opportunities? Or was it like off the bat where you're just like, dude, we could do something much bigger within a year or two of you
we
being
knew
there?
within the year, we knew that we had a model that we can go out there and sell
explode.
to people. Yeah. And so at that point, I'm the one holding the reins back because I'm the one that's going to go have to do all the work. I mean, so to try to grow a team and scale a team, first of all, coaching's one thing. Look, we can talk about business, and I'll go back to coaching with it. So if somebody grows up in the coaching profession, they've probably played the sport, they've coached the sport, they've learned, okay, this is the defense you're going to run, this is the offense you're going to run, this is how you coach it.
Yeah.
If you grow up to be an engineer, you go to school to be an engineer, here's your guidelines of what to do from an engineer standpoint. I created a group of a fleet management group that really, there was nobody out there. There was no guidelines of exactly what to do. We knew kind of the basis of what we needed to accomplish. We knew that we had to get, in order to be successful, we talked about cost per hour. We needed to get utilization. We knew we needed how to figure out leases. Those were the things that we knew that we had to get from. We had to, basically had to create our own computer system. When I first started,
in other words, like a CRM, a management system. Right?
I was inputting. I had a group of girls that were inputting work orders into an Excel spreadsheet, so I could track costs through an Excel spreadsheets before I could actually go have a computer system built to be able to give our customers their needs. So here I am generating reports through an Excel document that it looked like this thing's really professional, and it's only being created through Excel.
And it's very new.
Yeah. And we're inputting work orders, handwritten work orders that are being scanned into us that we're inputting into an Excel spreadsheet so we could track the total cost and make it look good. Yeah. So definitely a lot of growing pains, but it was, when you're in it, you're in it.
That's one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, because I think everybody hits a point in business where it's just like, it almost feels like it's too much to bear sometimes, and it's just overwhelming, and some of them get burnt out. Like, I think the younger entrepreneurs don't understand how quick time flies.
Yeah.
Right. And so like this temporary pain, this temporary moment where it feels like it's too much is just that. It is just temporary.
Yep.
I promise you. Next week, next month, you're not going to experience that. There will be a new problem.
There'll be a new pain. There'll be a new pain.
Yeah. But you eventually you become a sucker for pain, because you realize every time that I've went through something difficult or something painful, I popped out the other side and there was a result that was better than what I was just experiencing.
And it's all
growth.
So
you're like, oh, looking around. Yeah, this is a struggle. Cool. How do we address it? Because there's progress on the other side of it. You know? Did you ever get to a point where you felt as though that, like, man, maybe I want to walk away from all this. This is too much to bear? Or was it just so fast paced, excitement, the money, everything was moving so quickly that you just focused on the work? Or
I was in the grind and I was in the work.
And you loved it?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, there's definitely some painful times.
You're a unicorn. You've never thought about quitting. You've never felt burnout. You've never had those doubts or uncertainty or second guessing.
You know, I had a customer one time that made the analogy. He said, Kelly's like the Holy Ghost. He's everywhere. He's at every place all the time.
But I heard the Holy Ghost goes to bed at like 10 or
but you know what?
So you got to be careful. That's why you get home by 10.
There were some times there was no bed for me. And it was rather, there was times I was on the road for 3 weeks at a day. And that was the hardest thing for me. I'll say the hardest pain for me was probably being away from my family.
Yeah.
I felt like the good thing about me running the business is if I needed to be home, I could be home. And I also instilled that in my employees that their family was the most important thing for me. The reason why we work is to be able to support our families.
Yeah.
Bottom line. I mean, we go to work so we can support our families, we can have money to live off of, and we can have
But if you can't be there for them at all, is that really support?
That's right. And so that was probably the hardest thing that I probably struggled with, is there was times that maybe I missed a few things that I wish that I could have been there. I remember my daughter, I don't even know how old she was. Maybe she was turning 12. I'll say 12. And I remember saying to her, like, hey, listen, I'm not going to be at your birthday. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be gone. But when I get home, like, I'm going to make sure, we'll do something fun. And her comment to me was, well, Dad, you haven't been here for the last 3 years of my birthdays. And I was like, you know what?
That's a stinger.
I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here for your birthday. Those are the things that, like, that was reality. Like, to me, that was the pain of growing a business, is neglecting. I shouldn't say I neglected my family, because I didn't neglect them.
But there are moments
but I
of
miss
that.
my family.
I mean, to a certain extent, there are moments of, I mean, neglect is a strong word, right? And that's why we want to shy away from it because it doesn't feel right. But in reality, like sometimes there's certain times in the build phase where you are neglecting certain things so that you could actually build.
Right.
And that is, if you want to be massively successful and grow something that has the ability to change your family's life financially, there are moments like that.
Yeah.
And you have to do the best that you can. I mean, obviously that was a moment of maturity for you.
Right.
The business brings us in so much to where we're just going, and so focused on it. Then that little moment that happened that was like, snapped you back out of it when she said that, right? Where it's like, oh crap, I wasn't even thinking about my priorities should be here, but like all we could do is the best that we can do. Right. And if you're in the build phase, there's going to be moments and things that you're not going to be able to be there for. I mean, I traveled quite a bit, and it's like, man, I'd love to be at that recital or that soccer game. And believe me, I am at 99% of them now. That's the beautiful thing about it, is when you get on the other side of it, you determine your schedule, you determine your calendar, and you have the ability to do that. There was somebody I was talking to the other day that said, you can either have stability or you can have success. But if you want success, you're not going to have stability. If you want stability, you're probably not going to have success. Right. Like that's just part of the journey of trying to become successful. A lot of business owners in to piggyback off of your story of, hey, you know, sometimes I was gone for 3 weeks at a time. Like you've been married for many years. You've raised a beautiful family. You know, you're fit and athletic. You've seen some success. You're enjoying some of the success that you've experienced. Were there moments of friction being married and building a business in terms of you having to be gone, or was she completely understanding?
She was completely understanding,
and she's
I mean,
1,000% support.
I mean, very, very, very supportive. Communication.
I'm trying to get you in trouble.
No.
You know,
I think communication was huge for us.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, we've been married for going on 30 years.
Yeah.
And I won't say it was always easy. Yeah. But you know, with
anything
communication,
that's worth it will never be always easy.
I'll say that one of the things that I learned later that I wish I would have learned earlier is being intentional with a purpose. So whatever you are in the moment is to be intentional with that moment. And so I do wish that there were times that I would have been more intentional with my kids when I was home with my kids. I mean, I felt
instead of like,
or looking at the computer or looking at my phone or like, you know, trying to figure out, you know, who's texting me or what customer needs this or whatever, because at the end of the day, that stuff can wait, and nobody, I was the only one that was anxious.
Yeah.
Nobody else was anxious about it.
It's not like you wouldn't have experienced a level of success that you experienced had you not got to the computer. You still would have experienced it, but for whatever reason, we feel like we have to do it. Like it owns us more than we own it sometimes. And that's just kind of
that email at 9:30 at night that went out. Nobody gives a
They're okay getting a reply at 10 a.m. the next morning. I promise you. They're not expecting, they're not checking their email at midnight.
I had to learn to almost do delay responses where the response would go out at 8 a.m. So people wouldn't say, why is he working at 2 a.m. in the morning? But the way that my brain operates, if it's on my mind, I need to go take care of it and be done with it. Now, so when I lay down at night, I'm going to go straight to sleep. If I lay down, but if I lay down and thought about I need this, I got to get up. Yes, I'm getting up to go finish it, and then a couple hours later, then I'm back in bed and I'm sleeping. So, but I think being intentional with a purpose was a huge thing that I learned. That I would say anybody that's in the grind is to always think about their surroundings. You know, to me, family definitely was always first. And my wife was very, helped me be very grounded in making sure that I was doing the right things.
Dad stuff. She was keeping you, keeping you in check.
I'll
because we can drift.
We can drift fast.
Yeah. You got to have somebody to reel you in, right?
Success. I mean, how do you define success? And, I think that there's many different ways you can define success from a business standpoint. Everybody wants to look at a P&L.
Yeah.
I think overall for me, success as somebody running a business were my employees happy, were my employees satisfied, were I able to give them the same opportunity to be intentional with a purpose when they were with their family. And that was one of the things that, I would always tell my team is if your kid has a baseball game, your kid has an event, you be there.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it costs you $800 more on an airline ticket to get home the day, the night before, get home.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get that time back.
Yeah.
And I think our team was very well aware of my mindset with that and understood my mindset.
Was that
and appreciated
after kind of the wake up call with the dot? Like
I would always
some of the maturity that you
I probably was always that way with my team, but not for myself.
Yeah.
Like my standards for myself were always in the grind, where for them, I wanted to make sure that they recognize
you're building a business. They're helping you build a business.
Right.
So the expectation for you was greater than what you had for them. It's like, look, let's get you home to the people that you love and care about.
Correct.
And that's what's important. Even though that came from an honest place, a place of integrity, you meant it when you said it, but it's so much easier to say that to other people than to actually do it yourself. And then sometimes life gives you a wake-up call. And how many times do people actually have wake-up calls, but they don't actually wake up?
Ignore them. But I even think
they hit snooze on the wake up call.
That's right. And you can say that from a health perspective.
All sorts of shit.
We could talk just even from a health perspective, because one of the hardest things that that I early in the business growth, I felt like there was so much whining and dining and going out and doing these things, and had customers.
Was that part of like building relationships
with customers and everything else?
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where, you know what? I need to take care of myself.
Yeah.
So everything that I did from a travel perspective was around a gym. It was around where can I eat healthy, and then what can I do to make sure that I'm getting in bed and getting rest, so I can make sure that I can operate, function, and function
at your peak.
At my peak, yes.
Yeah,
because if you're dragging, if you're not healthy, if you're not doing those things, I think that there's so many times that we get so focused on the business aspect that we forget about family and we forget about our health, which are the two most important things. Because I've seen too many people that have had exits or sold businesses that within 2 years to 3 years are gone.
Well, they exit their business and they're overweight and they don't really have a whole lot of relationships with their family to go spend that now free time with.
There's no
because
hobbies.
They screwed it off.
And there's no hobbies.
Yeah.
There's no.
They don't have a life. Their life was all business. And so now that they've got a chunk of money, it's like now they're depressed.
Yep.
They're overweight, depressed. They don't have good relationships with the people that they should have been curating those relationships.
And then it's too late.
And then it's too late.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of turns their back on you, like, man, all you care about is money.
Right.
Oh, now you see me. Now you want to build a relationship. Yep. When I wanted it when I was 6, not when I'm 16, and now I just want to hang out with my friends, right? Like in reality, these kids, like by the time they're 13, 14, they want to hang out with their friends.
Right.
And by the time from 0 to 5, it's not like we get to really hang out. You have this window where they start doing their sports or their recitals from like 5 to 15, where you get to spend. I mean, you really look at it like that. You've
small
got
window.
8 to 10 years where they really are wanting to be around you before they meet their friends and become too cool for school.
Right.
When they're a teenager, right? And they're like, parents, let's go hang out with the friends, right? And so I think it's just an important footnote in this podcast to remember that it's just such a minute amount of time that you have with these kids, and you could build a business for the next 50 years. Those kids are going to come and go within the next fast.
Yep. And you could build one later in your life. You could build one early in your life.
And I'm not saying not to go build a business. You just flat out said, be intentional. Guess what the podcast was that dropped last week? Be intentional.
Really? Well,
I said there's a decision that you need to make. Make the decision and then be intentional about it. Like I talked about going to the gym and watching people there for 2 hours to get a 20-minute workout. There's zero intention.
Right.
You told me about your workout in my office before we hopped on this.
Yeah.
It's like, 20 burpees and then this. And it's like, bro, you crammed more in a 20 to 30 minute window than most people get done in a week going to the gym for an hour and a half, because they're just really not being intentional about the way they live. We can carry that into relationships. We can carry it into how they handle their finances and how they show up in their business. All of those things are important. If you're actually giving it your awareness, increase your intention, because otherwise you're just kind of wasting your time and you're not really going to get yardage out of it. You got to get some meat off of that bone by being intentional about it. So, Mr. Deep Pockets here is got to the point of coaching, transition forklift, absolutely murdered that industry, took over the industry. And like, what do you do now?
Well,
like, what do you do now? I mean, I know that you got veins popping, big chest, big biceps. I mean, your guys aren't quite as big as mine.
No,
when they have a sick pump.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a sucker for arm day.
Every day's arm day.
You give me shit about
every day's arm day.
Every day's arm day.
So I don't think I've ever seen Trevor in the gym without doing
bullshit.
arm day. Well, I'm serious. Yeah. So
it just looks like I'm hitting arm day every day with how thick they are. But
so I had the kind of we'll just fast track through the end of the fleet management company. So the family business got to a situation where they were going to look to sell the family business, and really had no idea that what we were going to do with the fleet management side of the business. I thought it was going to be something that we would always have, that I would just run. At someday, yes, I thought, hey, I don't want to be doing this forever. I want to go enjoy life. Had a private equity group come in. They looked at all the business units. They saw the fleet management business and said, we want that also. And so got a phone call from my uncle, and he said, hey, listen, I got to tell you something. He said, we found a private equity group that wants the logistics warehouse business. They also want your business too, and we're selling the businesses. We're selling everything out, and they want everything all wrapped up into one. We hope you're okay with that. And I said, yeah, I'm okay with that. That's fine with me. So,
well, you probably asked for the number?
Well,
and then they threw the number out, and you're like, okay.
So
that makes it easier.
It was very nice to be a part of a very healthy, larger company. The logistics warehouse company was around 5,000 to 6,000 employees nationwide. Very, very large 3PL. So having that opportunity, I was like, you know what? He's like, will you stay on with the private equity group? And I said, yeah, I'll see what I could do, to keep working with them.
Usually they require that for 3 to 5 years, right?
So there was some type of talk about that, but I'm very non-committal. I'm just let me do my job. So let me just.
You'd probably be there for 3 to 5 years anyways, but don't make me sign a piece of paper.
Job.
Yeah.
After about 8 months, I realized that our values were not aligned. Like it just was not. It was not the family business. It was not the same company.
These private equities. It's about one thing.
It's all about money. So everything had to do with how much more money can we make and how fast can we make it. And I remember having a conversation where they came and said, what we want you to do is we want you to double your business in 2 years. And I said, okay, so
go from 5,000 to 6,000 employees to 10,000.
Well, just on my side of the business, just to double what I've done, and so from 15 years. So you take what I've done in 15 years to double it in 2 years. And I said, I'm okay for a challenge, and I don't mind a challenge. I said, but my question is what are you going to do for my people?
Yeah.
And they said, well, what do you mean we're going to do for your people? And I said, well, what's the incentive to my team in order to double in 2 years with what it's taken us 15 years to do?
Yeah.
And they said, there is no incentive. They have a job.
Yeah.
And I said, you're missing the point. If I'm asking them to double their time away from their families, I'm asking them to double their workload. If I'm asking them to do all of these things, what are you going to do for them? And it still just came down to
money.
They have a job.
Yeah.
And I realized at that point that that's not who I am. And if I can't,
you don't want to pimp out human beings just to line pockets of these guys that have endless amounts of money anyways, and they just want more.
I mean, I think the family that bought the company had 11 billionaires in the family.
Yeah.
And all we're here to do is to make them wealthier while my team is out doing things. Suffering. And suffering. And I was like, I just don't align with that.
Yeah.
And so I made the decision that I'm going to stick through you guys for the one whole year through the
4
purchase,
more months.
and then I'm done. And I've got to go. And I just can't align with that. So it was a very hard decision because my team that I built was such a good team and they were such good people.
Yeah.
I just felt like I couldn't continue down that path. And then it came to a health situation of like, I'm going to take care of myself. I want to take care of myself as an individual. I was also very selfish. I wanted to spend time with my wife, and then all that missed time that I had spent. Like I'm young enough. Let's go enjoy life. Yeah. And so decided that, hey, I'm going to get out. It's 49 years old, and you know what? This is pretty good. We'll go figure it out. And so stepped away, was enjoying life. Things were really good. We were traveling all over the place.
I know.
We're doing.
I hate travel, and I'm traveling with you via Instagram. You know, I'm like, where the hell is Kelly this week? You know, and I see him at the gym here and there, but he's about to head out of town on another trip. But that's exactly. I mean, what's the point if you can't buy back your time and do things that you want to do?
Right, and I want to do it while I have my health and while I can be healthy. And then took a trip last June to Iceland and came to the understanding of what Icelandic Marine Collagen is, and had met a girl that was from Iceland that was a former 2-time CrossFit Games champion. She was with us on the trip.
Iceland gals.
I tell you what,
strong as an ox.
You know, you talk about resilience, you know, in purity and integrity, you know, and impacts, all that stuff. I mean, it's a different breed. And then one of the things that I've learned is, you know, Icelandic women, with the culture that they're in, the harsh environment they're in, they're survivors and they're go-getters. And you take, met the first girl, Katrin, David's daughter.
Was that intentional? Were you intentional?
It was what happened is the group trip that I was on, it was her boyfriend at the time had put the group trip on. Okay. So her being from Iceland, she was there with us, and we had just talked. We talked about, you know, I'd watched her in the CrossFit Games for many years. Always admired her, you know, just her work how she competed and how she worked. And, you know, she always left the floor with a smile on her face, regardless of how good or bad she did. She was always waving to the crowd. She was just interactive and just, you know, really
good human,
just a good person.
Yeah.
And so I was, you know, very appreciative to have this opportunity, you know, to spend time with her and get to know her. And had mentioned to her about this Icelandic, you know, marine collagen and about all this collagen that was over there in Iceland. In our hotel room, we had these creams, and we had like collagen pills that they had given us. And I was like, what's different about Icelandic marine collagen?
Yeah.
You know, what makes it? Same thing from the women's standpoint. It's the purity of where this collagen's coming from. It's the harshness of the environment that the fish are raised. And it's just a different collagen, just like, you know.
So by default, the fish are raised in a harsher environment.
Colder waters, purer, clean waters.
So therefore, the collagen would have to be better in order to help this fish survive.
Stronger binding, you know, proteins in there.
It's basically this friction that it has to go through strengthens every component of the
skin
fish,
to
all
the meat.
of it. And then by default, the collagen itself is a greater version than what we're probably getting over here.
Because you might get a mixture of different fish over here in North America, you know, in you know, the Atlantic or whatever, where this is Nordic waters, cold waters. And so her and I talked about, what about a drink we could bring to the U.S. if I was able to do this, would you be interested? And
so that just came off the, like, as you were there, you just started kind of thinking about it.
Yes. Thinking about,
well, how is there a better way to ingest collagen versus the creams or the pills or whatever?
And so what's on the, like, what in the market, what's missing in the market? You know, everything was getting big into clear proteins, and everything was like to what we call an RTD, which is a ready to drink. And I had been exploring some in the supplement space, looking for different ideas in the supplement space, and, you know, being in fitness for so long and looking at different things.
Just
I always
naturally, you're just like, man, you're just drawn to some of the supplements.
And I think that
anything for peak performance.
If it helps me, then you know what is it? You know, whether it's the joints or whatever.
I think
it may
anybody that's into health and into wellness, fitness, loves that type of. They have thought about, man, what if I created my own supplement line or my own this? Because it's like you have this natural passion for it, so it's like, why wouldn't I go open a gym or start a supplement company?
I've always talked. I think you and I've talked many times.
Hey, we need a private
fitness,
gym,
a fitness retreat
for rich people or something like that. Remember we talked about,
having a cigar bar, like a gym can, very comparable to a cigar bar. Yeah. So instead of you going in there smoke cigars, you come to work out, and we have sauna and we cold plunge and we do all those things
with high net worth people.
Yeah, and I had met a group through what's called Founders Only Club. that's really strictly for fitness and supplement space, and had met the guy that had founded the group named Eric Hinman. So I got really comfortable.
It's like a mastermind?
Kind of, but they also, they're just all like sharing teaching, different ideas and like everybody's just getting together. And it kind of gave me the idea that, you know what, I could probably do something like this. Like if I could find where my passion would be, I could do something. So going back to the Marine Collagen and talking to Katrin, I had, we had really wanted to do something. Well, fast forward about 3 or 4 months later, we're on a trip to Egypt together. And we're in Egypt, and I said, all right, Katrin, I think we can formulate the drink in the U.S. We can create the drink in the U.S. If you're still interested, and if Annie, Thor's daughter, which is the other girl from Iceland, who's a 2-time CrossFit champion, she was actually the first female 2-time CrossFit champion in the games, is interested, then let's go make a run at this drink. We'll figure out the source of the proper marine collagen. And we have a formulator that's based here. So Jen Milks, who lives here in St. George, has formulated for a lot of companies. I said, I could reach out to Jen. I can get her on board. I can put together a team. Because one thing that I feel like I can do is I can get a group together. I can
assemble people.
I'll go find the right people.
Why do you think that is, though?
I think it comes from my coaching. I think because I recognize.
No. It's you.
Well,
it's a lot you, bro.
Yeah.
Like people want to be surrounded by you because
I appreciate that.
Of your character, because of your integrity.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is like, oh, because I coach football. No, like you're missing the fact of how special you are and how bought in people are with you, with your vision, just the way that you're speaking on the podcast. Well, your excitement, just reliving some of the build and some of the stories and all that, like people now are going to grab it. Well, if he's that excited about it, like I should be excited about it. This guy's on, so like, I just wanted to give you your roses.
We'll appreciate
because
that.
Like that's why I wanted to see. That's why I asked the question. I'm like, why do you think that is, bro? Well, like, because most people don't say, oh, because I'm so great.
Yeah,
like you're humble, right? And in reality, bro, you say I'm going to do this. It's not really going to be that hard for you to assemble a team of great individuals because of who you are as a human being, not because of how big your body, not the veins, not the bank account, none of that. It's just who you are, So.
Well, I had a conversation one time with HR, and I think you and I talked about this at the gym because it really bothered me one time of being too passionate or being too aggressive. And I said, you tell me the difference, because if my passion comes across as being aggressive, I'm sorry. But I'm going to be passionate about everything that I do.
Yep.
And if I believe it, I'm going to give it my all. And so if I come across too aggressive because of my passion, I don't.
You're reading it wrong.
I can't change that.
Then they don't understand passion.
Right.
I had Matty B. You know Matty B here in town?
No, I don't.
He's in a wheelchair. He's a motivational speaker.
I have met him.
Great dude.
Yep.
And he says, man, I watched one of your posts, dude. You were really aggressive. I'm like, bro, I don't really think so. And he's like, well, what is it then? And I was like, it's just passion, bro. Right. And it's just funny that it's a full circle moment, because that podcast was like a month ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're saying people mistake my passion for aggression. It's like, no, you're excited about what it is that you're doing, and it's coming out, and people can feel maybe off-put about that if they're not on that same wavelength. If they really don't want to live life that way, that's cool.
Yeah.
Go do you.
Do something, that's right.
But you're reading me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not over here trying to chop people's heads off or milk them for every dollar that they could possibly get, like the hedge fund or private equity companies. Obviously, you have a heart of gold, but if you're going to put your heart into something, you're going to put all of it into it and take care of the actual business needs, take care of the people that are taking care of those business needs, and everything that falls underneath that umbrella, So
and I think that's what led. So, we were talking about, have Annie, I have Katrin on board. I have a formulator on board that, who's tremendous. I feel like we can create the same purity, the same integrity, the same, resilience, that Icelandic women have, and what's very interesting about Iceland, they actually had the first woman president in 1980. was the first, woman president in the world of a country, and now they still have a current woman president over there now.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, so for them, women don't have boundaries. There are no boundaries, and so that's what I love about the Icelandic women, and to be able to work with them is like they feel like they can do whatever they can do. Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to do is when we talked about the name of the drink, and I said we've got to name this thing Daughter. Because every woman in Iceland's last name is their dad's first name followed by daughter. So your daughter would be Trevor's daughter. So my daughter would be Kelly's daughter. Wow. And so everybody's named that way. So you had, Katrin, David's daughter, whose dad's name is David, and then Annie, Thor's daughter, who's, her dad's Thoris. And so it's followed by daughter. So to me, daughter means a whole lot more to us
than just a brand.
It means a lot because I have a daughter. Jen has, Milks has 2 daughters. Reed, who's
is that how they spell it?
That's how they spell it. Yeah. So it'd be like David's
that is
daughter.
The spelling of a daughter.
Daughter. So it'd be very unique and and it represents of resilience and strong purity, clean integrity.
For those that are listening, it's not spelled daughter
right? It's
US-wise.
Right.
Is it DOTTIR?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So it actually, the branding of it looks cool. It looks unique. It doesn't just say like daughter.
Right.
So some people are probably like, imagine like, I'm going to Google daughter.
Yeah.
So
it's DOTTIR. Yeah. And so came up with a name, and then
That's
we're
cool.
like, and then one of the things that I always, I remember when I had early, I used the word retire. I don't know what the word properly is to use for me, but I remember somebody said, what's your next step? And I said, the one thing that I want to do is I just want to help people. Whatever I can do to help people, then I'll be satisfied.
That gives your life more meaning and more purpose,
if I can serve people and help people.
Yes.
And so with this, and with us talking about creating this drink, one of the things that we wanted to do is create a fund that we can give back to people. And so within the drink, we have what's called a resilience fund, because we talk about resilience, and we're going to create a resilience fund that's going to give back to female athletes. It doesn't necessarily have to be athletes. It could be females in fitness. It could be females in mental. It could be females into sport. It could be camps. It could be whatever, that we want to be able to partner with nonprofit organizations that we can give back to females to give them opportunities that they might not think that they have. And so
it's somebody's daughter.
Yeah, somebody's daughter.
Give back to somebody's daughter.
So that's what we want to be able to sponsor and to be able to help with this drink. Is not only do we want to bring something that's so pure and clean to the market, that's not in the market, we also want to be able to give back to women and girls, and in that space, to be able to give them opportunities that they never thought that they'd be able to have.
What's your? I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's not out for purchase yet.
No, not out for no. So we will
when's the launch date?
So
that you're
we're hoping the launch
to,
date, and we'll say this on air. So we're going to say the launch date's going to be December 8th, and we're hoping we're going to make our first production run, our first full production run, November 17th and 18th. And then we'll spend about 2 weeks seeding the product out, and then we'll open up for launch.
Seeding.
So seeding, we're going to
just kind of giving it
out to different gyms,
or,
and to, we're hitting Pilates, we're hitting yoga studios, we're going to hit gyms. We've got different influencers. We have certain events that we're going to give them out to, and just kind of get people's interest. Because one of the scary thing is like, with the forklifts, I didn't know a whole lot about those either.
No.
But I was like, hey, let's go do this.
Yeah.
What's scary about this is if you crack open the can, you want to make sure it smells good. You want to make sure it tastes good, and it feels good. So it's scary of like what you think tastes good and what I think tastes good are two different things.
Somebody likes Coke, somebody wants Pepsi.
And so, we're talking about these 3 flavors of like, okay, what can we do to make it very marketable to, because to be honest with you, I've tasted a lot of drinks. As I've gone through this process in the last 6 months, I've probably spent way more money on other brands and other drinks just to taste them to see what I like. 75% of them, I don't understand how they're on the market.
Yeah.
I don't know what the value, I mean, the one thing that I could say is that we have something that's extremely clean and extremely healthy. Now what we have to do is make sure it tastes good. And so that's the biggest thing, which I think that we have done a fantastic job with. And
people
I hope
are going to go back because of the taste.
Right.
The health benefits of it is a bonus.
Yeah.
But think about it, bro. How many people are slugging down Pepsis and it has zero, it actually has a net negative impact on your health, but they're drinking it based upon the taste.
Yeah. But you probably had a protein powder that you've taken before that you like, that doesn't taste very good, but I'm going to drink it because I just want the I want the 30 grams of protein. So I'm just going to chug it.
Yeah.
So I can fight through that.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
This is like, hey, we want the 7 grams of marine collagen in our system. We want the glycine to be a carrier to make sure that the collagen is getting to our system and be able to, give us, what we need.
Is it also want it to taste good. Like, is it geared towards like everyday people?
Everyday people. I would love.
Is it geared toward athletics, or it's just?
I'm going to say yes to all of them because I want you to drink it, and I know that we're targeting women, but I want my dad to drink it. I want you to drink it. I want my youngest son to drink it.
Yeah.
But I would love for women to be able to drink it just because of the benefits of collagen that are out there. And there's not many things that are targeted specifically for women.
Yeah.
Most of the things that you find in the fitness industry are all geared around males.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get an extra 40 grams of protein, and for them.
This pre-work has 300 milligrams instead of 200. And it's like, this one has 400. Yeah. It's just like more
and I've had
more.
people taste the drink and they say, well, how many milligrams of caffeine are in it?
Yeah.
And so does that matter? I said, if it had 300, I'd buy it every day. And I'm like, but that's not what we want to sell to.
Yeah.
We want to sell to the people that are very mindful
conscious
of their health,
yeah,
that want the extra benefit, and we will end up coming out with a non-caffeinated version because there's going to be some people that say, hey, we don't want the caffeine, but we also want the benefit of collagen.
I want to sip on something healthy that tastes good, but I don't want to be buzzing.
Yeah, and with it being natural caffeine, it's not like it's going to give you that jolt and that buzz and the
I told you that's the only caffeine I use is green tea extract.
Yeah,
it's
probably a good thing for everybody that you don't take any other source of caffeine.
Well, some people say, how much caffeine a day do you drink, bro? And I'm like, I take a little green tea extract shot in the morning. That's a little caffeine, and I'm like, that's it.
Yeah,
they don't believe me because there's people that slug down coffee like. It's 12 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. I'm like, how are you slugging down a coffee at 5 and you're going to go to bed at 10?
But your energy's coming from the life that you live.
Yeah.
So, when you're putting that much time and effort into fitness and you're putting that time into, going out there and doing what's right for your body.
Yeah. It gives back to you.
It gives back.
The more energy you give it, the more energy it gives in return, right? Just like the more love you give to a human being, the more love you're going to probably get in return. So, so this has collagen, and then it's got the natural caffeine, 105 milligrams of natural caffeine.
And then we have glycine, which is a carrier that helps carry the collagen. We have vitamin C. And then we have methylated vitamin Bs with a little sea salt in it.
Do you plan on, are you going to keep it just like that? The way that, and again, you said without caffeine, that's cool. Do you ever plan on having, maybe it's too far down the road, but other ones that have also different ingredients?
We've talked about doing some different things, but really,
almost like too much.
We really want to be,
quick.
To be honest with you, I think being narrow and deep is really the best. When you're talking about building a business,
it's almost too much shelf space.
Because and that's the other thing is if we decide to go retail, because right now, a lot of people say, hey, you need to take this to retail right away. I want to take this thing slow, and I want to make sure that we're going deep with it.
Yeah.
So I would love to build, which sounds really weird around a drink, I want to build a community around this drink. So I want this community of people to know that here we are, we're bringing something that's healthy to the market. We also have a resilience fund that it's also helping people, when you drink the drink, that it's also helping people, and people see the goodness behind the purity and the integrity behind the drink. So just like we talked about as individuals, I want the drink to represent the individuals, just like Katrin and Annie, the purity and the integrity they represent.
I think it represents you, it represents them, and anybody that drinks it probably will have some of those exact same values.
Right.
You're not going to have somebody with shitty values. I want to be super healthy and look good, collagen and blah, blah. It's people, usually people that are in the health industry, and I can't make a blanket statement because there's shitty people out there regardless. But for the most part, it takes discipline. It takes integrity. It takes commitment. in order to take your health seriously. And you could look at an individual and be like, dude, that's a disciplined person.
Right.
Like when they say that they're going to do something, they follow through. Look at them. They're a living example of it. And then it carries over into the other things that they're doing, products, services, businesses, the people that they surround. My guess is if I ever get introduced to somebody from you, they're grandfathered in, bro.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to be in your proximity. You've already said, I left a coaching job, didn't fit my values. I didn't stay with the company when the private money came in. It didn't fit my values.
Yeah.
So everything that you do is built around one thing.
Yeah.
Values.
It is. And I think think I got that from my parents.
Yeah.
I think that was instilled for me, just from having good values, from integrity.
A couple good ass whoopings.
Yeah, a bunch of them.
Made some. Yeah,
I got way more than my other siblings because of my choices.
Yeah,
and it came. It didn't come easy. I mean, there was a lot of. I made life hard based on my choices.
Yeah.
But I think that that's kind of how we get
smarter.
We talk about the fish. It went through a colder environment,
harsher.
It makes it harsh.
And it came out better.
And it came out stronger, And I'm not saying you have to go through harsh environments all the time to come out stronger, but I do think that there's a lot to it. And I think that I do pride myself on surrounding myself with good people. And I know that
likewise,
if you surround yourself with good people, good things happen. And I'll tell anybody that's out there that's starting a business, if you hire good people, good things will happen.
Amen.
So a lot of times we get too caught up in reading somebody's resume and we're looking at their degrees, we're looking at their experience, and we're not looking at them at the character.
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple things that I'd always would look at is I always wanted to know the character of the person, and I also wanted to know what was their relationship with their significant other, their spouse or whatever. How do they treat that person?
Yeah.
Because that's going to tell how are they going to treat me in my business and treat my customers that we're trying to reach out to, because
their values are their values, and it's going to be
not
here,
change.
here. A crappy person, they're crappy wherever they're at.
Sometimes they can change for a little bit, but eventually they're going to go back to that same thing.
Time exposes everything.
It's going to get them.
It exposes everything.
So, for all the way from, one of the guys that I had originally met in Iceland, when he and I were talking about doing this drink, his background is, in media and marketing. And I told him, this is an interesting story. I said, Jeff, if we come up with this drink and I figure out a way to formulate this drink in the U.S., I said, I'm going to call you and you're going to get on my team.
You're going to be helping build the brand.
6 months later, I start getting the drink. I called Jeff. I said, Jeff, we're getting ready to start trying to launch this drink. Do you still want to be part of the team? He said, well, what do you mean? I said, Jeff, I told you in Iceland, we were sitting on a bus in Iceland, and I told you, if we're going to do this drink, I want you on my team.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but most people don't do that, Kelly. And I said, but I'm not most people. I said, I'm going to follow through with what I say I'm going to do, and I want to surround myself with good people, and I need you on my team. So we have built this team around good people. The guy that's going to be over my operations, my COO, is a guy that I met through another guy, and we were talking about my needs, and he said, there's one person I want you to meet. He's based out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's run 2 other companies that have sold. He fits your integrity. He fits who you are. He fits what you want. You need to talk with him. I met with Reed. We were in Chicago. I met with him one night. I asked him, hey, can we have a phone call the next week? We had a phone call the next week. We talked on the phone for about 2 hours. And then the next conversation is how can you get on my team? And he had to finish an exit of another company, and he's part of our team. And those are the best decisions that I made based off of my feel for who these people are. I don't even know, I don't know Reed's background from an education standpoint. I know some of his background from other businesses that he's started and that he's sold and been part of. But I don't really know. I didn't ask him where he went to college. I didn't ask him what his specialties are. I just know he's a good person.
And he needs to be on the team.
And he needs to be part of what I'm doing, because that helps me to do what I can do.
Just something that I want to point out here is there was a few times, and then this person said, hey, you got to meet this person. And then how important is networking? And relationships with other human beings versus this isolation that business has the ability to put people, like they're so narrow focused in their business that they're not really even building the relationships when they're one relationship away, one connection away from something beautiful happening.
My wife likes to use the term that I'm a collector of people, collector of friends. I would also say that I really don't like making friends, but I always seem to make friends everywhere I go. But I think networking's huge. Because here's the thing. This drink would not have happened if I didn't have a network of people that I could rely on.
Exactly.
Because I don't know what citric acid is. I don't know what pH levels do. I don't understand what sea salt does to a drink. I've never looked at it. I've looked at some ingredients on the back of a can, but I don't know what.
You don't know how to, is that
artificial sweeteners, does this to you.
Is this good? Is that good? I can't even read half of this stuff or pronounce it.
Yeah. Well, pronounce it today. That's a completely different story.
So maybe it's good, maybe it's bad.
Now at my age, even the nutritional facts, half of them I can't read without glasses anyway. So I don't even know. So I just know that without me having the right people, I'm really nothing except for I'm just going to go build it.
Yeah.
I will go put it together. So if we'll go back to the coaching aspect, if you have a general manager, you have a head coach, you have an offensive coordinator, you have a defensive coordinator, you might have the best defensive coordinator and this is a very good analogy, especially in today's sports. You can have coaches that are extremely good defensive coordinators, but are terrible head coaches. Mm-hmm. Because they can't manage from the top down, but they're really good at what their specialty is.
Yeah.
And my job is to go out and find every specialty coach that I can find.
Yeah.
Where is their
Assemble
strength?
the team.
And if it's going to challenge me and make me better, then that's who I want to be on my team. If I'm the smartest person in the room, we've got problems.
Yeah.
And normally I'm the dumbest person in the room that's just assembling a great team.
Until you got in this room with me.
No, I think we're good. We're still good.
We'll just call it even. We both got.
We're good.
What's more important, reading or bigger biceps?
Well,
the word important isn't even a word, so I already tricked you.
I think
you were about to answer it without calling out.
Both of us would work and do whatever we had to do to make things work.
That's it. If you again, it goes back to purpose, passion, intention. If you have those things and it's something that you truly believe in, and you can assemble a team, you don't have to. Elon Musk doesn't know how to build a rocket.
Right.
But he's launching rockets into outer space.
But he has the drive to
he said, I want to launch a rocket into space. Cool. Hey, you're a rocket engineer? Come be on my team. Hey, you're that, and he just assembles. And great people with passion, with integrity, with character, with purpose, with intentionality has the ability to assemble great people because you just draw them to you.
Right.
Hey, you got to meet so-and-so. Hey, they're doing something cool. Like, be a good human being. Just start there.
Yeah.
That's a great starting point. If you're making bad decisions in your life right now that you know aren't good for you, you're living outside of integrity, whatever that means, whether it's in your business, in your relationships, whatever that looks like for you right now, fix you. Just become a good person. Start there and then watch the world open up to you. Yeah. It's not as hard as we all make it out to be. We want it to be make it out to be hard just to justify our sufferings.
Yeah.
Most of your sufferings are due to self-inflicted decisions. Like you said, the ass whooping, I brought it on. He didn't just walk in and start swinging.
I can always say,
you made it easy to put an ass whooping on you.
I've had those same conversations with my kids, and I thought the same thing about my dad is, why did I, why are you so mean to me?
Yeah.
Or my kids would be like, well, why did you treat me that way? And it goes back to, what was the choice you made?
Yeah.
Was the choice that you made led me to do that? Yeah. Or was I just that way?
I was just an asshole.
And so it's just like, I tell my kids all the time, all I want you to do is just be a good person.
That's it.
We can talk about careers. We could talk about money. There's a lot of things out there that, hey, I'd love for you to be successful and do this or whatever. But at the end of the day, I just want you to be a good person.
I don't want you to be a successful dirtbag, though.
No, but
be a great human being.
Just be a good person.
Exactly.
And the rest of it, I think, will take care of itself.
I haven't met any of your other kids besides Trevor.
Yeah.
He's a good kid.
So,
great kid.
Yeah. So we're blessed. We got good kids.
You did a good job there. I know.
My wife did a good job. My wife did a good job there, and I did a good job supporting.
There you go. So, we already heard that story,
I'm
right?
Learning.
So,
I learned that.
Man, it was a pleasure having you on. Guys, obviously, you could tell based upon this podcast, he's an easy person to co-sign for. So anything that Kelly's doing, he's doing it with integrity. Go check that out. Make sure that you support companies that support other people, that help other people. And that's exactly what's happening here. We'll put that information in terms of the website in the show notes as well. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I did. Other than that, guys, keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next week.